Hi everybody, it's Trudy here, One Grounded Angel. This is the weekly angel card reading for the week beginning Monday, May the 7th through to Sunday the 13th of May 2018. So I actually started this video earlier and about halfway through someone buzzed my apartment, so I got interrupted. The whole thing was ruined. I was very annoyed. I said some bad words. I'm starting again, but I'm not going to reshuffle for those cards that are already drawn. You're just going to have to trust me that I shuffled them as awkwardly as I always do and that the right cards have come up. So this was Monday's card, energy. So when we talk about energy, a lot of people tend to think of energy in a physical sense, like the fuel, how much energy they've got to get through the day, how tired they are. But when we talk about it in a spiritual sense, it's about the energy in your energy field, the force that's around you, the force that you use to attract what you want to attract in your life, to motivate you, to to talk. I mean, we're using energy when we sort of talk to the divine. It's like it's a force, but it's also like a portal in a sense. I don't know if that kind of makes sense, but so much of this esoteric stuff is really difficult to grasp. It just kind of works, and it's kind of an exercise in trust, really. So there are a lot of different ways this could be relating to you. So assuming you already au fait with what energy is all about, it could be asking you to use that energy to protect your energy, maybe by shielding, maybe by making sure that you are not around people who are overly negative and critical, because you will pick up that energy and you will take it on board, especially if you are an empath and if you're pulled into this kind of spiritual world and learnings, you probably are an empath, which means you're sensitive. So I feel this is most strongly for asking you to use your energy to attract what you want. So that law of attraction stuff, energy flows where attention goes. That means you have to focus on what you want, not what you're afraid of or the worst case scenarios. So in terms of understanding that magnetism between what we want and where we're at, a lot of spiritual leaders talk about how we have to embody what you want to attract. So for example, if you want a healthy relationship, you have to be embodying a healthy relationship with yourself. It's probably not a very good example, but if you want to attract, say, someone with a sense of humor, you've got to be able to make yourself laugh and have fun and all that sort of thing. So we can't look for our deficit in other people or other things. We can't look for fulfillment in a job, even though jobs can be immensely satisfying. They can't fill the void if we're not already working to fulfill ourselves. So this is about using your energy to either get something that you want, to fill a void in your life, to transform your health, I'm getting for some of you, and your well-being. So there's a lot of different meanings here. For some of you, it could be asking you to develop your ability to harness energy, maybe through energy healing or something like that. So Tuesday's card, you can tell I'm really miffed about having to redo this. I had nailed those explanations so much better before, but oh well. Anyway, Tuesday, you're profoundly clairvoyant. So I talked before about how clairvoyancy has a really bad name because we tend to envisage people looking over crystal balls, such as this one here, which is actually really beautiful. And seeing someone's future. But the fact is that we can't see the future because the future is changing all the time. That's my belief. Others may see it differently. So when we talk about clairvoyancy, it's not about seeing what's going to happen. It's about seeing what you need to know that will help you transform and make better choices so that you can create a better future for yourself. So this is about the way you receive messages from the divine. Clairvoyancy refers to messages in the form of visions. So those could be in your dreams, they could be daydreams, they could be visions that you see just in your everyday life, or symbols. There are 4 clairs. There's another one referring to claircognizance is about thoughts and ideas. Clairsentience is about feelings, messages you get through feelings. That's probably one of my more stronger clairs. I'm not really strong in this one, but that doesn't matter. Everybody's different, and it's okay to be stronger in one area, not others. Anyway, I've probably explained this enough, but what it's essentially asking you to do is to trust the messages you're getting through your intuition. Don't worry if you're not getting messages through visions, but if you are, you're being asked to trust them. If you're getting them through some other means, that's okay. Again, just trust them. It's essentially saying, yes, it's accurate. What you've been hearing or feeling or sensing is correct. Go with it. So Wednesday, I actually had this card here first. Two have jumped out, and this is the card I had on Saturday. And I actually wasn't even going to use this card deck this week when I was preparing to record this. And then I was preparing this card, because I record these in advance, for Saturday, writing up the Instagram post, and I'd left it on the side of the couch. And as I sat down to record this card just fell off the couch. So I thought, yeah, I got a feeling I need to use this card deck. So I pulled it out, and what do you know? This is the exact card that jumps out. There's no such thing as coincidence. This is clearly something that people need to know. So eternal love, it's about love as an energy, the love that sustains us. So it's asking you to recognize and really appreciate how much love there is in your life. And how can you better nourish those relationships? So letting people around you know that you love them and you care about them. And love is a verb, in the words of, what was that song? Teardrops, Massive Attack, that's it. Love is a verb, love is a doing word. It's so true. We show people we love them through our actions. It's not just the words, but of course the words are a lovely endorsement, and people do need to hear that. But you also need to be showing it through gestures. And I'm not talking about romantic relationships here necessarily, although certainly include those. It's about your squad, your most important humans that are around you. And the angels want you to really know how loved you are with this card. So you also have got this bonus card. You and your loved ones are safe. So very reassuring message from Archangel Michael, who this card deck is devoted to, letting you know that he is protecting you and your family. So if you've got some fears around safety right now, call on Michael to help you, to protect you. Something I do at night if I feel uneasy for any reason is I ask Michael to send guardian angels to every door and window of my house to look over our property, our possessions, and us, the inhabitants, as we sleep, to make sure that we are safe. So you might find that helpful. They're actually doing it anyway, but I find it helpful to ask for it. It's like an extra layer of reassurance. So, but this is letting you know if you're really worried about your family at the moment, and obviously some of you are if this card has come up, just trust you're being protected. It's what you need to know. So you can ask Michael now. I was going to say you can ask Michael to protect people that you are worried about, but bear in mind you can't impose on people's free will. They're still going to make the choices, and if they choose to make unsafe choices, there's not a lot you can do about that, but sometimes it can make you feel better to ask for that protection for them. And maybe just ask your angels to reassure you that they're okay. Bring it back to you as well, the way you're responding to the situation. If you have exaggerated levels of fear around people's safety, that might be helpful to you. So, yeah, there's a lot of really strong, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a real kind of battle energy around this. I'm getting like some of you feel like you're under siege, if I could put it like that, or your family's under siege. And some of that could be past life stuff. Some of it could be prompted by an event in this lifetime. Whatever the cause is, it doesn't matter. Some of us are just feeling uneasy because the world is going through so much flux, and you're being asked to trust that you are safe and you are being looked after. So Thursday, shuffling now because I didn't get up to this in the last failed video attempt. So this is about the truth, and I spoke last week about how with the Scorpio full moon, a lot of things were coming out from under the covers, a lot of hidden truths that we needed to confront. And that is because anyone who's in a relationship will know that if you try and avoid something or stuff it down, it will come back up. If there's a difficult conversation you need to have with your partner and you avoid having it, it will come up in your actions. You'll start picking a fight with them. You'll start pulling away from them in some way. Everything comes up in some way. So you want to really deal with this truth so it doesn't trip you up in other areas. So this is asking you to to accept the truth. Some of you are aware of something but not really quite feeling ready to face up to it. You're never given more than you can deal with. So you can deal with this. Please do that, because if we try and avoid things, yeah, it just doesn't go well. So, and often when we avoid things, we make them into something bigger than what they need to be. It's a bit like in Harry Potter, where they were avoiding saying the word Voldemort, and I think it was Dumbledore who was saying, when you refuse to name something, you give it more power than it needs to have, and you make it, a bigger presence. And it's the same deal with this. When you avoid something, it becomes more of a monster almost. Whereas when you face up to it, you can see how to bring it down and how to go around it or how to combat it. But yeah, it just becomes bigger and bigger. Again, in a relationship, if there's something you need to tell your partner and you're not telling them, it becomes bigger and bigger, looming over your shoulders and over the relationship. And the longer you leave it, the harder it gets, and the worse it gets for them to finally be told that. So if there is something you need to face up to, do it. Something you need to tell someone, do it with love. It's really about being authentic right now. If you are pretending to be something you're not, perhaps as a defense or protective mechanism, they're asking you to kind of shed that skin. Friday it is. Friday the 11th of, oh man, what is with these double cards coming up? Oh well, I'll start with this, creative project. Now, people have this mistaken idea that they're not creative, that only artists and actors and writers or whoever are creative, and you're not, because you just have a logical job. Well, newsflash, every single person is creative. You're creative in the way you cook, the way you parent, the way you solve problems. Creativity is not something bestowed on a gifted portion of the population. Everybody has creativity, but it looks different to everybody. So you're being asked, first of all, to accept that you are creative, and B, to channel that energy. It's a creative energy. If it's suppressed, if it's not expressed, it can lead to a life where you feel unfulfilled, you feel like you're going through the motions, you feel like you're kind of, something's missing. I know when I devote too much energy to work, or I'm just not doing what I need to be doing creatively, I just feel a bit deficient, if I can put it like that. So I need to pull out my sketch pad, and I am by no means a good artist at all, but I really enjoy it. And the process of being creative is channeling from the divine, because that's where the guidance is coming from, and it shuts your brain off enough, or turns it down enough. Your brain never shuts off, obviously, not completely, enough that you can create something beautiful that your brain would have told you that you were not good enough to do, or that you didn't have in you, or that was not something that, it just wasn't something your brain would have come up with on its own, that part of your brain, I mean. So if you do have a creative project you are yearning to get started on, do it. But also, this could be telling you to take a creative approach to a problem you're facing, or it could be just asking you to take more time for something fun. It's very difficult in this go, go, go world to think about the value of giving your time to something that doesn't create something productive. You do just for the sheer joy of it, just for the process, not for a product, not for something to tick off on your to-do list. It can be hard to justify that, but it's so worth it, trust me. And yeah, try to fight that part of your brain that tells you you don't have time. You've got to make time for things like that. The bonus round is notice the signs. I know I talk about this all the time, super important. If you get a message from your intuition that you're not sure about, or you're just torn between two things, you want some guidance, whatever it is, you've got a message from your intuition, you want to know if it's legit, ask for a sign. Major way the angels talk to you. The key signs are finding feathers in unexpected places, finding coins in unexpected places, not your purse. That's the logical place coins would be. I have a friend who has budgies, and she finds feathers all around her house. Not a sign. That's just her situation. So finding them in unexpected places, seeing distinctive cloud formations. If you Google, people have seen actual angel shapes in the clouds, which is pretty incredible. Seeing rainbows can sometimes be a sign. Talked about money, butterflies, clusters of butterflies in particular. That can often be a sign of people who've passed on as well with butterflies. And music. Music's a key one. It could be a song that's meaningful to you, or it could be a song that has a lyric that you need to hear at that point in time. I don't think I'm going to put that one on Instagram because I'm very conscious. My posts are so long. I really need to trim them back. It's hard when you're trying to keep it general because the card is going to mean so many different things to so many different people at so many different life stages. That was really clumsy. I'm going to put that one aside. So I'm trying to cover all my bases, but it just makes it so long that people I know will stop reading. So I'm trying to find a balance there. Saturday, open your third eye. So your third eye is one of the main chakras that you receive messages from the universe from. So there is a connection here, particularly since the third eye is very much about messages you receive in visions. So this could be asking you to trust those messages you're getting. It could be asking you to do some clearing around that chakra to make sure that you can receive those messages more clearly. There are meditations on YouTube that target specific chakras. There's a lady called Anodea Judith, Anodea Judith. I don't think her stuff is on YouTube, but you can buy her CDs, which I've done. Yes, CDs, old school. And there's one for every chakra, and I found them really, really helpful for just really getting intensively into the chakras. If you go to my website, www.onegroundedangel, and search under the Reiki tab, scroll to the bottom, I've got articles on all the chakras, and you can get to the third eye one. I give a lot more detail about that. I'm going to try and remember to post this one on the day. But if I forget, that's how you can access it. The third eye chakra is also about the way we see things. So not just in terms of, messages or visions. So if we are not seeing things clearly, if we are maybe deluded about things, if our perspective is off, that can be ascribed to a third eye block, or it can just be not necessarily a block in the chakra, but you can get this message telling you need to open up your eyes more fully. So I always give the example when it comes to delusion of people who audition for The Voice or The X Factor, and they're terrible. Lovely people, I'm sure, but they just don't have that ability. That doesn't mean they're not creative. It just means that's really not their natural kind of channel for creativity. But someone has told them they're really good, so they've auditioned. And look, you can argue all you like about whether it's ethical for the producers to put them on there knowing they can't sing. But anyway, they do. And I just think it's very difficult for them to accept when these professionals, these judges are telling them, you're not good enough, because someone has put them on that pedestal and someone has been telling them they're very good. That's delusion because they're believing it. There will be some level of their intuition that's telling them they're not good enough. And sometimes we get messages that we're not good enough and it's just fear. But if your intuition is telling you this is not right for you, you've got to listen, because if you're not listening or paying attention to that, that's delusion. You're not seeing things clearly. Delusion can be a real issue when you start dating someone, because often when we start dating people or we get a crush on someone, we're crushing on a version of them that doesn't exist. We see things that we want them to be, but they actually don't have. So they might be saying to you, I'm not ready for a relationship. I just want something casual. So you start dating them thinking they'll change their mind, or that, or you just put that aside and think, oh, it's okay. I can be okay with casual. And then you get enmeshed in something and you realize, no, that's not right, because you can really fool yourself about these things in order to get something that you think you can get. But our intuition's always right. And when we're deluded about things, something will prompt us back onto the right track to wake up and say, no, I'm going down the wrong track here. I'm thinking, I'm seeing things that aren't really there because I want them to be there rather than what's actually there. Very difficult lesson, that one. And I've certainly, in the dating sense, been down that road. I have made such a mess of these cards. Maybe this isn't right. I don't know. We'll see. I'll give it another crack. Sunday, this is the 13th of May. Okay. Comfort. It really is a comforting card, actually. It's reassuring you. For some of you, this will be reassuring you through a challenge that you're going through right now, that it's going to be okay. For others of you, it's just reassuring you in a general sense that you have everything you need and that everything's okay. Sometimes when things are going well, we don't kind of trust in that. We think we either expect something to go wrong, or we want to prepare ourselves for something going wrong. So we start imagining worst case scenarios and how we're going to get around that, or we start looking ahead to the future and preparing for that, instead of being okay with where we are right now and enjoying that level of comfort. Also, I'm getting, sometimes we're not comfortable in our current situation. We distract ourselves with social media or other people's dramas. That's a huge one. So many people are worried about other people's dramas. It has nothing to do with them. If we're not comfortable with our present situation, or we're scared about what we need to tackle, we procrastinate, we distract ourselves of all sorts of things. So I think this card is also asking us to be comfortable with where we're at right now, the present moment. It's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. Just be okay with where things are at, and maybe do things to make yourself feel more comfortable. Deep breathing is a major one. Dr. Libby Weaver talks about this a lot. When you deep breathe right into your belly slowly on a regular basis, it's dampening that fight or flight response in the body. It is reassuring your nervous system that you are okay, you are safe. And that is a good position to make great life choices from. If we make life choices from a place of, I'm scared, everything's going to go wrong, it's not going to go well. We're going to be more likely to be deluded, for example. There aren't enough men out there. Oh, I better go out with this person and try and force something to happen, or just keep texting them, and because otherwise there's no one else. You know, that sort of thing. That's just an example, but you know, we can really, if we're not comfortable, we're not prepared to sit and wait for things, we're not prepared to be a human being, we're trying to be a human doing and force things, we can get ourselves on the wrong path. And remember that your intuition is never going to speak to you with a sense of urgency. It's one of the main ways you can tell whether it's your intuition or just your freaked out mind or your imagination or whatever. Imagination can often be your intuition, but what I mean is your over-analyzing mind that's creating situations that aren't real. Your brain, your intuition will never tell you that there's not enough time, that there's not enough, that you better hurry. There's no sense of urgency with your intuition. It's a very calm, very measured, very love-based message. It's also not going to beat you up and tell you you're not good enough, or that you're going to fail, or whatever. That's your ego, the voice of fear. Your ego wants you to stay safe by continuing to do what you're doing. It doesn't want you to change, but change is how we evolve and how we grow. We're not here to stagnate. So we need to be able to balance that fear around our safety and that desire for growth, and make sure that we can move forward knowing that we are taking a risk, and maybe not necessarily being okay with that, but trusting that we will get to a better place, if that makes sense. Okay, the week is very much about trusting your intuition. Boring but important message. We've got messages about being authentic. I can see this card about truth and comfort being connected in terms of being comfortable with the truth, if that kind of follows for you guys. And yeah, these other ones I don't really see as being connected, but you know, creativity, often messages or creative visions can come in the form of visual information. So, you know, maybe if you've got a creative block, maybe it's your clairvoyance that can help you with that, a vision that you see that can give you some cues on where to go from that, or where to go and express that, I should say. That's it for the week. Thank you so much for watching. My Instagram, if you want to follow and get these messages in greater detail, but not too long each day, is @OneGroundedAngel. That's O-N-E, not the number one. It's talking about the number one, but it's the numeral, not the word. And my Facebook page is also One Grounded Angel. I've given you my website. That's the best way to reach me. If you want a personal reading, that's also the best way to go about it, because although I love your feedback and commenting on your situations, I'm not able to get you personalised insight because I just don't have the time, unfortunately. So please do book a personal reading if that's what you're looking for. And there's a bookings tab on my website. Thank you so much. Take care. I look forward to reading for you next week.